Yeah, yeah.
Eli was always different. Eli was always, I think, pleasant. He was very spirited. That's my nice way of saying would do what he wanted when he wanted sometimes, and that would sometimes be difficult because you wanted him to do what he was supposed to do, and he wanted to do what he wanted to do.
As a child, you were, a gregarious child. I think you interacted. You had a good social network of friends through the boys' club and classmates, and probably too social to a certain extent.
So he would get in trouble at school because they would ask him to do something and he didn't want to do it, or he didn't want to do it then, or he didn't want to do it without a conversation about it. And we were like trying to get him to understand everything doesn't require a conversation. So we sent him to another school. This time we sent him to an all-boys school. I thought, oh, okay, he's rambunctious. Maybe he just needs to be around boys, just needs to get all this energy out. And he was always in trouble, always sent out of the class, always, I'm getting a call.
Eli was probably, I think you probably were the most sort of victimized by separation and divorce. I think you, because it happened when you were like 5 years old. So, and then after about like 6 or 7, you started to act out. But nonetheless, I knew from early on, because you were an avid reader, you read all the time. It was never an issue of, never concerned intellectually. It was more just getting yourself to be disciplined. And I figured at some point it would sink in. And I know that 8th grade was a pivotal point, because I told you basically you had, if you wanted to go to Penn Charter, you'd have to straighten up, and you did. You did all that pretty much independently. Now, what happened when you got to Philadelphia, I don't know. You got comfortable again, but nonetheless, I think we're back on the right trajectory academically.
But he had all these good intentions, and everybody loved him, and he was this charming kid, and it was just so hard to watch him struggle with always getting in trouble, but being this good, this kid with good intentions.
You got you into acting for a little bit. You did acting class for a little bit, but you abandoned that. But you were a good actor. Music has always been your passion. So that probably is as a result, that a byproduct of that is, this whatever EBE thing we see nowadays. But you always had that interest in music.
Being very active and being very smart, being very creative. Drama was always great for him. He would do all these great things. He could, acting, and he would participate, like I said, in the Tennis Learning Center, and he'd do all these things, but he struggled sometimes academically, sitting down and just focusing on things.
Basketball, of course, is a late thing. That started in middle school or something, sort of 7th or 8th grade. But I think people know you as a jokester, but that's always been the case. Like I said, that was one of the issues in school. We talked about your experience at Septima Clark, and that was just where you allowed, basically, you were able to do anything and everything at all times, all day long, to your detriment, I think, academically.
Alright, so right now I'm in Brandywine, Maryland, which is in PG County, or Prince George's County, which is one of the most successful, predominantly black areas in America. But basically, I grew up in a lot of different places. So I was born in Maryland, I lived in DC right away, but then boom, we moved to Philadelphia, which is where my dad's from. So my dad's from Philadelphia, my mom's from Seattle, but she was born in DC, but she moved right to Seattle and grew up there her whole life. So boom, moved out to Philly, did preschool there, preschool and pre-K there, and back to DC for kindergarten, where I went to Howard University Early Learning Center, so like the early on Howard. So I lived in Southeast Washington, D.C. with my mom and my dad for a little bit, but then my parents got divorced. My dad moved to Northwest DC, River Terrace, and both of these places are bad to keep in mind. So when my mom lived Southeast DC, it was like I remember I would hear like one night I was playing with my friends. I heard gunshots. Like it was a bad area. There was projects right behind us. I remember it exactly. And when my dad lived in River Terrace, Benning Road, it was like really bad. Like there was a I remember routinely there would just be like gangs and stuff like around the corner. And like I didn't like it's the type of stuff where you don't think about till you're older. You're like, nah, this was that. That was not the best thing, best environment for you to be in. But as a kid, like I was just I was generally a happy kid. I didn't really want for much. I don't know. I used to just get in trouble a lot. I remember I got kicked out of two schools to my memory. But I would just get suspended and I'd be threatened and kicked out. And I started Catholic school. I couldn't stand Catholic school. So I had to do 4th grade again. And I had 4th and 5th grade there, hated it there. They threatened to kick me out, so I did homeschool for 6th grade.
His 6th grade year, I decided to take him out of school and homeschool him because I just felt like we needed to pull back and really concentrate, and I needed to help him learn some skills, how to, do study, how to look at something and actually make a study sheet. What are the main questions that are being asked? How do you decipher what the most important thing about the subject is or whatever? And so we just did a lot of that. He was able to travel with me that year to Jamaica for spring break and on a mission trip. That was his first time going, and then after that, he's gone every year. People love him when we take him to the mission trip. He's a really sweet kid, a lot more in touch with people and others than you would expect, especially at his age.
I think your ability to navigate through relationships, I guess, despite I think you're very what am I looking for? You're a person who saw past any differences, socioeconomic differences in people. So therefore, I think you had a wide network of friends growing up. It also gave you the ability to be comfortable in any situation.
Went back to the Catholic school for 7th to 8th, and then now I'm at Penn Charter. So that's in Philly, so that's another big move. So yeah, I've just been to a lot of different schools, living in a lot of different places. We're in Southeast DC right now. This is where I grew up for the most part when I was younger. It's the house. This is the area. Relatively good area. Not really, but made do with what we had. A lot of these houses around here are nice. A lot of people around here are really nice. When you go up there, there's like these apartments. It's like that's when it gets really, really bad. I remember I was over there. We heard some gunshots over at the apartments one time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. My dad, we also lived on Indian Head Highway. I remember that. Alright, so now we're at the Livingston Terrace Apartments. I lived here. This is where my dad lived when I was around 2nd, 3rd grade, around that time. There's another pretty bad area, DC. Basically, right here we used to I remember there used to be ice cream trucks. And I was kind of oblivious of the activity going on around here, I guess, because it was a pretty bad area, pretty bad things that went on around this area. But I just, like I said before, I don't know, my parents did a good job keeping me out of all that. Kept my nose relatively clean, even though I spent all the time outside when I lived here. Me and my sisters, neighbors, friends down the block. I remember Jabril, I remember a few other people. We used to always outside, just going around, just doing kid stuff, riding bikes, doing whatever we thought, whatever we wanted, anytime. This is the second house I lived with my dad in the DMV. But before that, I lived with him in Philly at the same house where I live now. But yeah, so now we're about to go back to the old house on Benning Road, which is like really bad. That's in the northwest, northeast DC. That's northeast DC. So we're about to go there. I'll show y'all around there. All right. So right now we're back. We're at the Benning Road house. We're in northeast DC, and it's crazy seeing it because I didn't realize how small the house used to be. This is where we used to live. I lived here since I was in fourth grade till about 7th grade. Yeah, I lived here for a minute. I remember a lot. Like, you go around here, you see that street. That's where our dogs actually saved this old man. He saved this old man who was getting mauled by a couple other dogs from the junkyard that's over there. My sister just reminded me of this. One time down the street, there was a SWAT team, blocked off the whole block.
Our dog died on that highway.
Yeah, our dog got hit on that highway. Our other dog. What else happened in this neighborhood? This neighborhood used to be crazy. I used to ride my bike around here all the time. Like I said, just oblivious to everything going on. Not really realizing the area I lived in. Not really realizing I want to say danger I was in, but just like the situations that I could have been in. But that, again, I give that up to my parents. Did a good job keeping me out of that kind of stuff. Helped me realize what to do, what not to do. Good judgment, bad judgment, stuff like that. I remember I used to walk around the corner. Anytime I was home alone, I would walk around the corner. There's a little liquor store. I remember exactly. I would go get the little pizzas in the little box that was heated by a light bulb light, and I thought I was eating good. I thought those were the best pizzas in the world. This is the house where I learned how to play drums when I was in this house. I remember my dad got me my first drum set in here. And you can see how small the house is, so you can imagine how loud drums would be when I would be playing, and everybody else was trying to like relax. And then, yeah, next door I remember Miss Diane, good neighbor. Man, I remember a lot of these neighbors. It was crazy. Yeah, but this is where I lived with my dad for a good chunk of my life.
So it's a byproduct of being divorced and essentially being thrust into single parenthood and having to do what you have to do in order to at least provide shelter. I mean, I think you guys had a good balance between education, cultural exposure, and that sort of counterbalance a living situation, I guess, if you want to call it bad. I mean, it's all relative. It wasn't like you all went without. It wasn't like there was, no food,
Southeast DC is one of the, in Washington DC, it's actually one of the most probably depressed in terms of economically, jobs. It's a lot of, issues and adverse issues, but I think for me, I was able to shelter at least, I think, my children. I felt at least I was doing a good job because of the resources that we had, the opportunities to do activities outside of the area. So we sort of lived here, but didn't have to really participate a lot.
Basically, you exist in one space at one time, so I don't know how environment really, the impact of environment was not that important to me.
Like, I don't know, my parents did a good job keeping me comfortable and keeping me out of the legal trouble, but I did get into a lot of trouble. And when I was younger, I used to steal stuff from other kids. Like we would call it hidden licks. I remember that. So I did come do some of that stuff. But I don't know, I just feel like living in all these different places, meeting all these different people, building all these different connections and relationships has shaped who I am as a person and who I want to be in the future. So like I don't know, it's just like I'm not gonna lie to say I came from nothing, because that's not really true. I lived in some bad areas where other people that came from nothing, but I was kept in a good environment and given the right lessons to now I'm at one of the best high schools in America. You know what I mean? So I don't know. A lot of people try to act like, because where I live in Philly, I live in Winfield. So a lot of people try to act like, oh, I live in the burbs. I'm not. I'm some soft suburban kid, which is like, I mean, I'm not some hard gangster, but I'm not like, hey, I don't really know. A lot of people some people try to leave it behind and try to say, oh, nah, that's not me, that's not like, and then some people try to over glorify the hood and like the hood and all that kind of stuff. Like my stance is just like, be proud of where you came from, but don't let that define you. You know what I mean? Like I love Philadelphia. I absolutely love living there. It's amazing. I love the city. Love all my friends, all the people I've met, connections I made. Cause I've been going up to Philadelphia every weekend since since as long as I can remember with my dad. We used to go up every single weekend, 2.5 hours drive every single weekend. But I also love the DMV, and I love where I'm from. I love DC. I love Maryland. I even love Virginia. Like I love where I'm from. And I even love Seattle. I lived there for a year too, but I don't know if that counts. But yeah, like I feel like you should embrace where you're from and love who you are and your past without diminishing the future. And you, vice versa, you can embrace where you are now and what you have in front of you without diminishing the past. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I'm on the road, all my diamonds shine no gold. All my partners all I go. I'm gonna mix it, got my rope. I don't got time to cry, no hoes. Keep your neighbor, got my pole. Making hits, got my rope. For your bitch, you gotta go, yo. Hey, you can't be fucking with my sign. Air it out, I get the 9. EBE, we keep the time. All my niggas, they alright. Making sure they keepin' bites. We was back on 21st Street, now we sit down with the pines. Now we eating all the time. EBE, I gave you signs. Remember, I was down bad, but I held my head up high. Now we scheming, we alright. Making sure we got the time. Philly shit, the man I am, but I can't forget the pike. Yeah, I can't forget the pike. Mom, make sure that we alright. At the Boys and Girls Club, hitting.